What if I told you the reason almost every difficult conversation fails is because we enter it with the wrong goal? We think the goal is to get our point across, to be understood, to convince the other person, but that's not right. The real goal, the key that changes everything, is to make the other person feel safe. Why? Because the moment a person feels unsafe, you are no longer talking to a rational human being. You are talking to a primal nervous system that is focused on one thing: survival. And you cannot reason with the nervous system. They shut down or explode. What if I told you that it's in our biology? Everyone has a secret window in their brain for clear, calm thinking. But stress acts like a hurricane, slamming that window shut. A real conversation, a real connection is impossible in that moment. That closed window is window of tolerance. In this video, I will share my 4Rs method, which is science-backed steps to gently open that window in anyone, even in the middle of heated disagreement. Recognize, reset, regulate, and reflect. Remember them all. I will explain more shortly. But first, let's look at what's really going on in our brain, in your brain, when things go sideways. Hey, someone here, welcome to Restless Authority. Let's imagine you need to give an employee some tough feedback. And instead of a productive dialogue, they get rigid and start justifying everything. Or you try to talk to your partner about the budget and they either blow up or just stare blankly, completely tuned out, checked out. These reactions aren't a character flaw, it's their brain going into survival mode. There is a name for this optimal state of functioning, the window of tolerance. It's the mental space where you feel calm, present, and able to think clearly. Inside this window, you can handle life's stressors and communicate properly. But the size of that window isn't fixed. External factors like exhaustion, hunger, or past trauma can make that window much narrower. Think about the world we live in now. Your window might be smaller because you are dealing with the drama in your life. It could be the anxiety that Gen AI will steal your job or your family in a war zone. When you're already overwhelmed, your window is smaller, leaving you with far less capacity to handle it. So when a conversation feels threatening, and the threat can be as subtle as critical tone or a dismissive look, our brain's ancient alarm system takes over. The amygdala, your internal smoke detector, screams danger. This is the infamous amygdala hijack. In that moment, your thinking brain gets sidelined. You're physically knocked outside of your window of tolerance. You are no longer thinking about collaboration or understanding. Your body is preparing for survival. This tends to happen in one of two ways. You can be pushed into the state of hyperarousal. This is a classic fight or flight response. You're flooded with energy, your heart races, and you might feel anxious. This looks like getting defensive or needing to bolt from the conversation. Or you can be pushed into the state of hypoarousal. This is a freeze or shut down response. Your nervous system is so overloaded that it just goes offline. You might feel numb, empty, zoned out, or completely disconnected. This looks like stony silence, blank stares, or just not being able to process what's being said. Here's the problem. Once someone is outside their window, you cannot reason with them. Their brain's hardware for thoughtful communication is literally offline. The goal is to guide them back to the safety of that window. So let's talk about making this window your superpower for difficult conversation. Your entry point to solution is understanding that the real goal of any tough conversation is to keep both people inside their window of tolerance. When you can do that, the conversation almost always works itself out. When you can't, it's almost guaranteed to fail. Think of it this way: your brain is constantly asking one question: am I safe? When the answer is yes, you stay in the window. You are curious, open, and collaborative. You can hear another person's perspective without feeling attacked. You can express yourself with care. The moment answer becomes no, the window slams shut. The conversation is no longer about the topic, it's about managing the threat. Your brain doesn't really differentiate between the threat of a tiger and the threat of your boss's critical feedback. It just reacts. We are taught to use I feel statement or active listening, but we try to apply these logical tools when the other person's logical brain isn't even switched on. This requires huge shift in your goal, from being understood to making the other person feel safe enough to understand. By the way, if you're finding this video and this explanation of the brain helpful, take a second to subscribe. We got into this stuff all the time, and I'd love you to be part of this community. Thank you. First, just develop your awareness. You have to learn to recognize the signs that someone is moving outside their window. I'm not asking you to do mind reading, that would have been nice. It's about observing body language and their tone. Are they in hyperarousal state? Look for fight or flight. Their voice might get louder or higher. They might talk faster, fidget, or physically lean away. They'll interrupt, use absolute language like you always or you never. And their points will feel way more emotional than logical. Or they are in hypoarousal, the freeze response. They might go quiet and unresponsive. They may look away. The moment you notice these signs in them or yourself, you must do one thing. Stop pushing. Stop your agenda. Stop trying to make your point. Any attempt to keep going will just feel like more of a threat, shutting the window even tighter. Your job is to move to step 2. Your next move is to actively signal safety to their nervous system. You need to do something that communicates, I am not a threat. This is a safe place. You can do that with your body, uncrossing your arm, relaxing your jaw, or even a simple, I hear you, I understand. Taking a sip of water is another brilliant way to do this. Why? Because it forces a natural pause and subconsciously signals to both of your brains that there's no immediate danger. If there were, you wouldn't stop for a drink and while drinking invite them to do so. The goal is to break the momentum and create a tiny crack of space for the thinking brain to come back online. Once you created a little space, the next step is based on a powerful concept Dr. Dan Siegel calls name it to tame it. Fascinating research on a process called affected labeling shows that the simple act of putting a label on an emotion can dampen the response in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, and bring the more rational prefrontal cortex back into the game. It's like seeing a monster in the dark. As long as it's a nameless shadow, it's terrifying. But the moment that you shine a flashlight on it, you see, oh, that was just a coat hanging on a door. The fear shrinks. Naming an emotion is like turning on the flashlight for the brain. This is where you can use I feel statements effectively, but not in a blaming way. Instead of I feel like you are not listening, try naming your own feeling. I'm starting to feel misunderstood and I really want to get this right. Even more powerfully, you can gently validate their emotional state. You could say, I can see that what I said really landed badly. What did you get from it? Or, it seems like this all pretty overwhelming. What about 5-minute break? When you accurately name someone's emotional experience, it's deeply validating. It tells their brain they get it. They are not the enemy. This is one of the fastest ways to help someone feel safe enough to get back inside their window of tolerance. And the final step is to solidify that feeling of safety and begin to gently open the window. You do this by proving you understand. It's called reflective listening. It's not active listening, it's kind of part of it, the whole thing. You can watch the full video here. But reflective listening means summarizing the core of what they've said back to them. The goal here isn't to agree, debate, or solve. It's simply to reflect. A great way to start is to say, so to wrap my head around this topic and be sure I'm getting this, I love using this phrase because it gives the other person a clear previously on and give a summary like your favorite series. For example, so to wrap my head around this topic and be sure I'm getting this right, it sounds like the heart of this for you is feeling like your hard work isn't being seen. And that's just demoralizing. When you reflect someone's reality back to them without judgment, their brain can finally switch out of the defense mode. Because they feel heard, you will physically see them relax. And if you are wrong, they will try to bring you back to the reality of their truth. Now, and only now, you can start to talk about the actual topic again. But this time, you're not an opponent. You are two regulated people, two allies back inside your windows, ready to connect. Recognize the signs, reset the tension, regulate with labels, and reflect to connect. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 4 steps makes more sense to you? And what difficult conversation in your life could this help with, maybe? Leave a comment below and let's talk about it. And if this video opened your eyes to a new way of communicating, please hit that like button and subscribe. That bell too, please. And share it with someone who needs to see it. And if you want to know how to handle Sir Talk a Lot or how to handle overtalkers, I have a video for that linked here. Please take a look at it. Thanks for watching. See you there.